Hello, everybody. Okay, so this is Christy pointing it out, right? So, if you have seen my spreads over the last couple of weeks, you might have noticed that I had wrote in Bible study. So, yesterday, or yeah, it was yesterday. Um, I make plans. Sharice asked, she's like, I like how you have Bible study every day. And I explained to her that I do Bible study every day. And it's usually how I start my morning off. But where I'm located this morning, we didn't have any power. So this was like a backwards day. And today, I haven't did my Bible study um, for today so far. So it's a good time for me to do it tonight, this evening. And what I use on a daily basis is the Daiky Grace Co. Christ in All Scriptures. It's a 52-week journey. It's 4 volumes, and this is the first volume, volume 1. It started January 1st, and I've been doing this Bible study every day. I really like the method that they use in this uh, Bible study. You get an introduction. It's the same setup from week to week. You get week 1, you get on day 1 you get the introduction, and then days 1 and 3 you get mark it up. On days 2 and 4 you go deeper and make the Christ connection, and then day 5 you live it out, and it tells you how you can implement this what you learn into your daily lives. So and there's also a podcast that's out there, A Year in the Bible with Daiky Grace Co. It's like a 5-minute touch of each day of two of the employees, or 2 of the people that Daiky Grace Co. put in charge, where they review what they did in that day's lesson. So I also have my study Bible. I have a Lifeways Woman's Bible by Holman. I got this sometime, I think in the summer of last year. I went through and I tabbed all my Bible pages. This is my study Bible, so I write in it. I do have another Bible that I use, but this is my learning. That it breaks it down. I like the way it is written. So I just wanted to do today's Bible lesson, that Bible study with you. And so we're in week 7. So, and all the weeks are indicated at the bottom of the page. And I have this bookmark because every week we need to discover the attributes of God, and they show you how to annotate. So let's switch over to week 7. Okay, so sometimes I use different, but this week we have been reviewing Genesis 49th chapter, 8 through 12 verse, and then each week they make the connection from Old Testament Bible to a Old Testament book to a New Testament book. And so it's going from Genesis 49, 8th chapter through 12th verse, and Revelations 5th chapter, 5th verse. And it's going to help you. It says, we will look at Judah, one of Jacob's 12 sons, an expectation of a future ruler who would come from Judah's family, an expectation fulfilled in Jesus. Genesis 49, 8 through 12, Revelations 5, 5th chapter, 5th verse. By looking at how Jesus is the ruler, we can be encouraged that all injustices will one day be made right, and we can trust Jesus when life feels out of control. So today is Wednesday. I'm recording this. I did Monday where we did mark it up and we read the script. They have provided in here so you can write it out, annotate it, write all your connections, and it gives you those directions what you should do. Then yesterday for Tuesday, it was go deeper and how to draw the connection between what Judah was doing and what was the difference in his behaviors. So today is day 3. It's week 7, day 3. And so the direction for today is mark it up, New Testament passage. Today we will study Revelation's 5th chapter, 5th verse, and thus begin to see how Jesus is the Lion from the tribe of Judah, fulfilling Jacob's word to his son Judah in Genesis 49th chapter, 8 through 12 verse. Read Revelations 5, 5th chapter, 5th verse, 2 or 3 times and annotate and mark up the text as you read. For tips, examples, see page 22 through 25 and 30 through 33. So if you needed to, you can reference the annotation examples that they provided for you. So I'll read it here. And Revelations 5th chapter, 5th verse says, Then one of the elders said to me, Do not weep. Look, the Lion from the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has conquered, so that he is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals. So I'll read it the first time in the book, in the workbook, and then I'll find it in my Bible, and I'll make sure I highlight it. So I have some highlighters over here on that side, and I'll go over here to Revelations and the 5th chapter. 5th chapter, 5th verse, it says, Then one of the elders said to me, Do not weep. Look, the Lion from the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has conquered, so that he is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals. So I'll make a little note to myself, because even after I finish doing this year in daily Bible study, I still want to be able to understand and know the connections. So I'll write over in the margins the Genesis 49th, 8 through 12 verse, because that's where the original story talks about the Lion from the tribe of Judah. So Genesis 49, 8 through 12. And then I'll take my highlighter into my Bible, because I want to know where this is referencing. So it says, Then one of the elders said to me, Do not weep. Look, the Lion from the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has conquered, so that he is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals. And this is the Lamb taking the scroll and being able to read it. So just for point of reference, I'll go back to the Genesis 49, 8th and 12th. Back over here. I already have my bookmark there. Genesis 49, 8 through 12. It reads, Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hand will be on the necks of your enemies. Your father's sons will bow down to you. Judah is a young lion, my son. You return from the kill. He crouches. He lies down like a lion or a lioness. Who dares to rouse him? The scepter would not depart from Judah, or the staff from between his feet, until he whose right it is comes, and the obedience of the peoples belong to him. He ties his donkey to a vine, and the coat of his donkey to the choice vine. He washes his clothes in wine, and he robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth are whiter than milk. So, because I read it both ways, and this is what we focus on Monday and Tuesday of this week, and today's Wednesday, I'm going to flip back over here to Revelation's 5th chapter, and keep that open over there, and do the directions that they state in the workbook. So it says, today we will study Revelation's 5th chapter, 5th verse. We already read this. And so the questions or directions are highlight any words or phrases that point to Christ. And so that is the main overarching goal of this Bible study, is to understand how all scriptures point to Christ. So Revelation's 5th chapter, 5th verse, then one of the elders said to me, Do not weep. look the lion from the tribe of Judah. So the lion from the tribe of Judah in this passage is reflecting the lion is Jesus. As I understand it to be. And so it said highlight any words that point to Christ. And it's look, the lion from the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has conquered so that he is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals. Jesus is able to open the seven seals. So I'll do that too. I'll just make a little note so I know why I did it. Make note of any attributes of God seen in the text. Okay, so this is the connection where we have to understand the attributes of God. So I have that page bookmarked so I can always reference this. The attributes of God that they were given to us at the beginning are eternal, faithful, good, gracious, holy, incomprehensible, immutable, infinite, jealous, just, loving, merciful, omnipotent, omnipresent, omnipotent, patient, self-existent, self-sufficient, sovereign, truthful, wise, and wrathful. So in this passage, it wants you to make note of any attributes of God seen in this text. So right off the back, my first impression is God is sovereign because he has control over everything. And with all this going on, he has control because he was able to allow Jesus to conquer. And this was God's promise. So he's always sovereign to me. But this one especially because we knew about this in Genesis, and then the connection was made in Revelations when we reference it that he conquered. So I would write sovereign. Then another one, if I just go in alphabetical order, he's faithful. He's devoted to the plan and the purpose. And that's what was stated in Genesis. And it came to pass with the Revelations. So he is faithful. And immutable. He didn't change. That's one. He's merciful. He gave us a promise, and he did not let that wrath come against us. So merciful, because it said do not weep. So merciful. We shouldn't cry because we have that promise that God gave us his son, his only son. Let's see. Wrathful. God stands in opposition to all that is evil. He enacts judgment according to his holiness, righteousness, and justice. So wrathful. For the purposes of this video, I usually write out why I feel like all those apply, but I spoke it out. So I'm not going to take time to write it out right now. I'll come back in and write it. But those are the attributes I see in this text. Now, the next direction is underline any descriptions of the person being talked about. So the description that they have. Now this gets a little tough because now you think about description of the person being talked about. The one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. Look, the lion from the tribe of Judah, the root of David." So the description is he's from David, has conquered so that he is able to open the scroll. He has this ability where he can open a scroll that no one else could open. And it's 7 seals. Descriptions. Yeah, do not weep. Look, the lion. They say he was a lion from the tribe of Judah. Read Isaiah 11th chapter, 1st through 4th, and 10th verse, and Matthew 1, first chapter 1 through 6. What echoes from these passages in Genesis 49, 8, and 12 do you see in Revelation 5 and 5? So here's a deeper view. So they want you to read Isaiah 11th chapter, and we're going to go to Isaiah 11th chapter. Isaiah is like one of the biggest books in the Bible. Let's go to Isaiah 11th chapter. I'm getting over a cold, so that's why my voice is. And it's reign of Davidic king. Isaiah 11, 1 through 4. Then a shoot will grow from the stump of Jesse, and a branch from his roots will bear fruit. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, a spirit of wisdom and understanding, a spirit of counsel and strength, a spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. His delight will be in the fear of the Lord. He will not judge, but what he sees with his eyes. He will not execute justice, but what he hears with his ears. But he will judge the poor righteously, and execute justice for the oppressed of the land. He will strike the land with a scepter from his mouth, and he will kill the wicked with a command from his lips. Now that was Isaiah 11 chapter, 1st through 4th verse. And here, I'm going to take this time to go back and highlight this. And a shoot will grow from the stump of Jesus, and a branch, of Jesse, and a branch from his roots will bear fruit. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, a spirit of wisdom and understanding, a spirit of counsel and strength, a spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord. His delight will be in the fear of the Lord. He will not judge, but what he sees with his eyes. He will not execute justice, but by what he hears with his ears, but he will judge the poor righteously and execute justice for the oppressed of the land. He will strike the land with a scepter from his mouth, and he will kill the wicked with a command from his lips. All right, and that is Isaiah 11 chapter, 1st through 4th verse. But I'm going to reference this other verse over here because they want us to read Matthew 1st chapter, 1 through 6. And then we also are going to connect Genesis, because I want to be able to just constantly reference why this was brought in. And then Revelations 5th chapter, 5th verse. Okay, so now I'm going to go to Matthew 1st through 6th verse, over to the New Testament. And it's the 1st chapter, and 1 through 6. Okay. An account of genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. And from Abraham to David, Abraham fathered Isaac, Isaac fathered Jacob, Jacob fathered Judah and his brothers, Judah fathered Perez and Zerah by Tamar, Perez fathered Hezron, Hezron fathered Aaron, Aaron fathered Amminadab, Amminadab fathered Nahshon, Nahshon fathered Salmon, Salmon fathered Boaz by Rahab, Boaz fathered Obed by Ruth, Obed fathered Jesse, and Jesse fathered King David. That is the genealogy behind how the connection of Jesus started with, and it goes back to Judah, because that's what we were just reading about. So this is the 1 through 6. This tells you the relation, how Judah, what happened to Judah in his time, and how this leads up to Jesus. So again, I'll notate Isaiah, because this is my study Bible, and I want to be able to just make sure I reference things as they should. Isaiah, and I'm going to write Genesis on here, 49th chapter, 8th through 12th verse, and then Revelations 5 and 5. So, okay. Now, we read Matthew and Isaiah, and it says, what echoes from these passages in Genesis? What echoes from these passages in Genesis 49, 8, and 12 do you see in Revelation 5 and 5? So if we go back to Isaiah, uh, 11th chapter, what echoes from here is that they talk about Jesse. Jesse is brought up, and Jesse is brought up in Matthew, because that's where Jesse is the father of King David. Also, the Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, a spirit of wisdom and understanding, a spirit of counsel and strength, a spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord. His delight will be in the fear of the Lord. He will not judge, but what he sees with his eyes. He will not execute justice by what he hears with his ears, but he will judge the poor righteously and execute Jesus for the oppressed of the land. He will strike the land with his scepter. There's another word, because we saw scepter in Genesis. And from his mouth, and he will kill the wicked with the command from his lips. Also, so in Genesis 49, 8 and 12, 8 through 12, we saw where the connection between the scepter. So I'm going to write the scepter down, because that's one thing. I'm going to spell it wrong. S-C-E-P-T-E-R. The scepter will not depart from Judah, or the staff from between his feet, until he whose right it is to come. So again, the scepter is with his scepter from his mouth, and he will kill the wicked with the command. So it's only going to be a particular person, and it's talking about Jesus, that's going to be able to judge and execute and create justice, execute justice for the oppressed. And so Judah is a young lion. My son, you return from the kill. He crouches, he lies down like a lion, or a lioness, who dares to rouse him. And it's just reaffirming, like, who's going to come up and be against someone that's so great? The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, a spirit of counsel and strength, a spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord. So to know the Spirit of the Lord is going to be upon him. We see it in both passages. His spirit of wisdom and understanding, a spirit of counsel and strength. And then going back over here is that he's going to lie down as a lion, and who's going to be daring enough to try him. And the scepter, again, will not depart from Judah, on the staff between his feet. Another connection as we flip back and forth. So this is Isaiah. It said, but what he sees in his eyes, he will not judge. He will not execute justice, but what he hears with his ears. But he will judge the poor righteously and execute justice for the oppressed. He will strike the land with the scepter from his mouth. He's like, the scepter from his mouth is saying he lit the rod, and the presence is going. His presence in Jesus is going to be so strong, and he's going to be able to speak. And it's the same thing that goes back to when we talk about his teeth, his eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth are whiter than milk. It seems like, so it's reference to the mouth and the ability to speak, and what he's going to say is so strong. So it's like the speaking, the reference of the mouth and the teeth. And then we go back over here. So let's not forget Revelations. Going back to Revelations over here on this side, we want to go back to the 5th chapter. 5th verse. It said, the one of the elders said, do not weep. Look, the Lion from the tribe of Judah. So we know that Revelation's 5th chapter, 5th verse directly relates to Genesis 49, 8 and 12 because of the mentioning of the lion and the tribe of Judah. Judah being that's who he was talking about. That's who the story is about. Judah is a young lion. My son, you return from the kill. Judah is the son of Joseph. Judah is the son. Let's go back. Let's make sure, because I don't want to misspeak. Judah is the son of, I want to say it because I wrote it down already. Jacob. Judas is the son of Jacob. And so where were we going? We were going back to Matthew because Matthew broke it down. Matthew gave us the breakdown. Jacob fathered Judah. So Jacob was talking to Judah in this verse back in Genesis, and he was telling him what he was going to be and what he represented, to the point where his brothers were jealous of him. And that's how we got to this point, that his brothers sold him to some Egyptians, and ended up being, because that was the will of God, that Judah was the one to come back and help his family and help his people. So Judah, your brothers will praise you. Your hand will be on the necks of your enemies, and your father's sons will bow down to you. And so Jacob's last, this is Jacob telling Judah what he thought about it. So there's a lot of connection here. This week has been really in depth and about learning why Judah went through what he did. His brothers put him in they tied him up and they were going to kill him, but then Judah was the one that suggested that they not sell their brother Joseph. Joseph is the one that was Joseph. Judah wanted at his first. His brothers was going to kill. Were going to kill Joseph, but then Judah said, "Let's not kill him. Let's sell him to the Egyptians." So that's what they ended up doing a few years later, and I'm not exactly sure on the time. Judah states they sold his brother for 20 pieces of silver, and Joseph ends up being the wise person in Egypt, and after a while of famine across the land, they had to go to Joseph, and the brothers didn't realize this was their long lost brother Joseph. The brothers of Joseph, including Judah, didn't realize that was their brother, and he ended up saving him. But the story goes is that because he convinced Joseph of sparing their youngest brother Benjamin, who was Joseph full of blood, they had the same mother and father, he convinced him To that don't break our father's heart because he already lost a son. He couldn't tolerate losing another. And so, like, another thing about this study Bible, it gives a breakdown of Jacob's family. So Jacob was the father. He had a wife, Leah. Leah had several kids for him: Reuben, Simon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun, and Dinah. Then he had a second wife, Rachel. Rachel had two kids for him, Joseph and Benjamin. And Joseph is the one that was uh, sold to Egypt. And Joseph wanted in return to have the money, in return to help the people of Jacob's land. He wanted his brother Benjamin. He wanted Benjamin to be with him. That was his full brother from Rachel and Jacob. So Judah, the son over here, and he spoke up on Benjamin's behalf and on Jacob's behalf and said, look, it's really going to crush our father, Jacob, to lose you again. I mean, to lose another son after he lost his first son when he didn't know he was talking to him. He didn't know he was talking to Joseph, his brother. He thought he was talking to a high priest, or he didn't know that that's who he was, the right hand of the Pharaoh. He didn't know that he was talking to someone so important, and he didn't know that his brother was this important person because they sold him to the Egyptians so many years ago. And so Judah is the one that sold him, but then in the end being the one that convinced Joseph not to ask for their son. He said, let me be in his place, let me or I could be a servant. And Joseph couldn't hold it back. He's like, I'm your brother, I'm your long lost brother. So he made up with his brothers, and the Pharaoh found out that these was his brothers, and they said they was going to put a piece of land, they could use a piece of land where they could flourish and have food and cattle and horses and everything. So it was blessed. But to make a long story short, that I started off to confuse you, it was the fact that this was spoken, this was given. They couldn't break what God had promised Joseph to be. Joseph was going to do all these things. And so that's where we are. It's a lot to take in sometimes, but I really enjoy reading the Bible and reading and understanding what was going on and what consequences they face. And so this is the week 7, day 3 of my Bible study. It was short, but I made it long, of course. But I hope you found it interesting. If you have any questions, let me know. Leave me in the comments or whatever, and I will try to answer them. But I am having a whole experience with this Christ in all the scripture. I'm very grateful that I ran across this and was given the opportunity to purchase this and to deepen my relationship with Christ, because that's what I needed in my life at this point. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.